It's been a very slow November here, so stay tuned to watch probably one of the shortest haul videos that I've ever made. We'll see. Fingers crossed. Hey YouTube, it's Mandak coming at you with another haul video here. Haul video 174. So slowly but surely closing in on 200. Hope you guys are all doing well. So as I said, I figured I'd do a little haul video here. Not really too much to go through here in this haul video. So like I said, hopefully this may be the shortest one we do, but time will tell with that, I guess. But yeah, anyways, um, you know, we're into November here, so closing in on Thanksgiving, about a week out. So really excited for that. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the sections of this haul video, starting as always with the comics. Alright guys, so thank you so much for watching this section of the video, specifically the comic books. So as I normally do, I always want to talk about what I've been reading since the last time I made a haul video, and then we'll get into the actual haul here. So guys, I finally did it. I have finished my Fantastic Four read through. So I have a couple of chunks here that I'm just gonna kind of talk about generally, and as I talk about them, I'll sprinkle in the pictures of the different volumes. So obviously, kicking off from the last haul video, I did finish volume 1 of Fantastic Four, so finished all of those epic collections. It was a wild ride, all the way up through Onslaught, so really cool to see that. The next thing I read was Fantastic Four by Mark Waid and Wieringo. I think it's Mark Wieringo too. I can't remember his first name. I apologize. But I did read all of the Ultimate collections, which were basically thicker trades, if you will, of their run. And this run, man, it was a page turner. This is volume 3 of what do you call Fantastic Four. So this is obviously Heroes Return, yeah, we kind of jump in. This run is not the run that kicks off volume 3. So there's some backstory stuff here that we kind of had to pick up on. Obviously, the biggest one is the birth of Valeria Richards, who, for most, if not all of this run, is essentially just a baby. She doesn't really do much, if you will, in this storyline. Most of the story pertains to the actual Fantastic Four team, and you obviously have some stories with Franklin Richards. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. The characterization was perfect. It was very funny, very lighthearted. But then it gets pretty serious. You know, we have a story with Doom, who kind of steals Valeria and tries to kidnap her into hell, basically. He kidnaps both children, actually. So there's a lot of the run is kind of tied around that part of it, right? Because Reed ends up being scarred from the fight with Doom. And then there's this whole arc with the Fantastic Four basically trying to take over Latveria to essentially rid the world of like all the stuff with Doom, and then Doom comes back and panic ensues. So yeah, I thought it was a great run. The art was amazing. The writing was fantastic, pun intended, I guess. And it, like I said, it was just a page turner. Like I was probably finishing a volume a day. It was just so, it was one of those books where I just could not stop reading it. It was just that good. And you know, anytime you have a book like that, that's always a good deal. So yeah, really enjoyed it. Highly recommend. You know, highly recommend anyone who hasn't read that run. If you want to read it on Marvel Unlimited, or I think there's an omnibus out for it, or if you want to try to hunt down the Ultimate Collections, I think most of them are easy to find. I found all of them at like this one discount comic book store that I went to. Oh geez, at least 7 years ago at this point. This goes to show you how long I've had these in my collection. So, but yeah, highly recommend it. Really great. I think Matt Fraction's run comes after that, which I don't really have much interest in. I know a couple of my friends shit on it for what it is. Um, I don't know. I think maybe sometime if I find stuff like cheap somewhere, or if I get interested in reading Fantastic Four again, I may go back and read some of the gaps I have. I don't think I should be in a crazy rush to do that, but you never know, right? So there's that. And then the next chunk I read after that was Fantastic Four by Jonathan Hickman. And this was just uh, a step up even more. I gotta say, I think I liked the first volume the most, just because it introduced the whole idea of the bridge and the Council of Reeds. And obviously, this is going to come into more focus, for the Secret Wars book that I'm eventually going to read and finish this time. I did start reading that series back in 2015 and I never finished it. So I plan to read it once I finish my Jonathan Hickman Avengers read through. And obviously in time for like the Doomsday and Secret Wars movies, which are still pretty far out at this point, over a year in advance. But yeah, I really liked it. I do feel like though this series kind of suffers a little bit from what my main gripe has been with Jonathan Hickman, and it's that there's just a lot of crazy stuff happening, and it's just hard to keep track, especially once we introduce the Future Foundation. Then it becomes like kind of hard to, and again, some of it's because of the volumes, how it's set up. Like there's no like, doesn't tell you, oh, this is issue 60 whatever of Fantastic Four, and this is issue 3 of Future Foundation, right? But yeah, that is a main thing of this story, right? Is I don't think this is a spoiler, but if it is, if you want to skip through this, that's fine. But essentially, like halfway through the book, Johnny Storm basically saves like the kids who would go on to be the Future Foundation. He basically saves them from the negative zone, and he quote unquote dies, which is what creates the Future Foundation. The Future Foundation's formed in memoriam of Johnny Storm, given his life to save the children, who are mainly like Franklin and Valeria's friends. So that's a storyline, and then Nathaniel Richards is pretty prevalent throughout this series. So if you're into that stuff, he sure is here. We also have a bunch of stuff with like older versions of Valeria and Franklin. So I thought that was kind of cool, kind of harkening back to some of the early, Fantastic Four stuff that had older versions of Franklin, which I forget what his like hero name was. I think it's like Psylocke, or I don't think it's Psylocke. That's an X-Men character. I forget. Something like that. It was like Psy something, but yeah. Anyways, those are kind of prevalent things. Doom shows up. Valeria and Doom have a pretty close relationship. Obviously, I don't think I read the comics that were related to this, but like, I think from what I can remember and what I've heard in videos and stuff, like Doom basically like told the Richards to name Valeria after his mom or something like that. So that's kind of like the relationship they have. But yeah, Valeria also is a central part of this story too. She's only 3 years old, but she like is way smarter than her dad, Reed Richards. So that's kind of a funny, funny like plot perspective there, plot point there that kind of gets used a lot in this run. But um, yeah, and then I can kind of see, like, I won't say too much about it, obviously, mostly because I don't really remember all the details of it, but um, the way that the series ends definitely sets itself up for Secret Wars. So, a lot of this run is basically just, Reed dealing with the consequences of his actions, especially when it comes to, being with the Council of Reeds and, just all of the repercussions that come out of melding with those and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was a pretty solid run. I think I think it definitely and I don't know because I haven't read all of it yet, but I would come to assume that this would read better. Like if you had like a Hickman read through and you read all of the Hickman stuff, it probably would make more sense because I'm kind of reading it in chunks, like where I read Fantastic Four and then I'm going to read Avengers, where at the time, like both of these series were kind of happening simultaneously. So there's probably some stuff that happens in Avengers that kind of crosses over into Fantastic Four and kind of helps explain a little bit more about what's going on. But um, that shouldn't detract you, I don't think, from enjoying this series. I think if you read this alone and you don't want to read any of that other stuff, I think it also stands alone in that regard too. So, but and obviously is there to help create synergy as well. So there's that. And then the last piece of reading for Fantastic Four that I read, actually finished this past Monday, was Fantastic Four Full Circle by Alex Ross. And this story, it's basically a one shot 64-page book, if I'm not mistaken. Beautiful artwork by Alex Ross. It read so fast. I mean, I'm pretty sure I read it in like 2 sessions, but like if you sat down and tried to read this in 1 session, you probably would be able to finish it in like maybe half hour, 45 minutes at that. It's such a quick read, in my opinion. And it's essentially the story of the alien that kind of replaces like the Thing in the This Man, This Monster storyline from like the Lee and Kirby days. We kind of see the Fantastic Four go back and basically be with him and try to it's really an endearing story of like going back and talking to him about mental health and just telling everyone that he is worth like being around, and he kind of like is part of this like parallel dimension of Earth. So it was definitely not something I anticipated, but nonetheless I thought it was great. There's a weird moment in this book where like it's the beginning of the book and like they kind of discover like what's going on, and there's a part when like Reed runs out in his pajamas, like he's putting clothes on, and then like Sue's invisible, and like there's like this heavy implication that they were just done like I guess having sex or something. Like I don't know. It was just really awkward, and I was like, I can't believe that made it into the comic. Because like even Johnny like is like why are you not visible, and he's like, oh geez, oh now I know why, and I'm like, oh god, like so that was a little cringe honestly to me. I wouldn't say cringe, but just I guess unexpected, um but yeah, nonetheless, really great pickup. I don't know if that's on Marvel Limited. I think it is, so if you want to read it on there you can. Otherwise, I've been seeing that book float around like on discounted places like Book Outlet one. I think I found that. I saw it on there a while ago for going for pretty cheap. Funny enough, I actually bought this book 3 or so years ago at Barnes and Noble because they do. I think I did a whole video of it. If you want to go back and check, they do a half off hardcovers at the couple days after Christmas every year. So the sale from prior years has been kind of, or from like the last couple years here has been kind of crap because I think they used to be all hardcovers. Like you go into the store, you find any hardcover, it's half off regardless of what it is. And then like 2 years ago, they started putting all these stipulations like select hardcovers, and none of them were good. They were all just like crap books they're trying to get rid of. So, I'm sorry if I shook the camera when I did that, but anyways, that's kind of annoying. But yeah, nonetheless, that's something there for you to think about. And then the last stuff that I read was finishing another series, and I know I just showed it in my last haul video. I did end up reading those last 2 volumes of Archie, volumes 5 and 6. So yeah, they were great. Really enjoyed the ending to that series. Again, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but yeah, the volume 5 kind of picks up where volume 4 left off, which was pretty serious in tone, which is kind of counter, was unexpected compared to like the rest of the mood of the book, if you will. And then volume 6 ends up pretty high tense situation, but again, ends in a pretty satisfying note. So I will say I don't anticipate reading any more Archie comics unless I find like some of the other spin-off titles for a decent price somewhere, but I don't think I'm really in a huge rush to read more Archie anytime soon. I think this was a good introduction. I like the characters. May end up checking out Riverdale at some point. I know my wife watched that show and had some good things to say about some of the early seasons, so I might check that out, but we'll see. So, but yeah, 15-minute walkthrough aside, that's what I've been reading so far. I have a bunch of stuff on the horizon here. As I said before, and I've hammered home a couple times here, now that my Fantastic Four read-through is done, it is now full-fledged into my read-throughs for 2026. So I have 3 main branches of that going, similar to what I had this year with Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, and Superman. This coming year, and starting this year actually into next year, I'm doing my Star Wars read-through, my Spider-Man read-through, which will probably be the shortest because I don't have as many of those books left to read, and then my Avengers stuff, which I probably read maybe a third, if not maybe closer to 40%, but I still have a lot of that stuff to read, as you can see behind me. Got a lot of like spin-off titles of Avengers left to read. Not much left of the actual volume 1 of Avengers I have left to read. I've been jumping around a lot throughout the years of that, but I'm pretty close to finishing that. But then I have West Coast Avengers, New Avengers, Mighty Avengers, Avengers Academy, Uncanny Avengers. So just a bunch of stuff I'm looking forward to reading, and I'm going to be really excited to do that. So really hyped to continue being able to do these read-throughs. I think is really cool too. So I'm really excited to bring you guys along on that journey as I do that. So but yeah, I'll cut it here as I normally do now with these, and we'll get into the haul. So stay tuned for that. All right, guys. So welcome back into the haul section, or the comic haul portion of the comic section, I guess. So yeah, so you might have saw on the thumbnail, I did actually buy some real books, as my wife would make fun of me for. So, obviously I'm a big comic fan, right? But obviously from the last haul video I showed you, my friend did get me the Revenge of the Sith novelization, 25th or 20th anniversary edition. Beautiful hardcover, really looking forward to that. And I know in that haul video I mentioned that book is actually part of a 3-part series of books. So about a week or so ago, I actually went to my local Second and Charles with my friend. We were both not really busy on a Sunday, so we both met each other up there and just shopped for a couple hours. And sure enough, I walk in, go over to the Star Wars novels, and I found the first book I needed for that trilogy. So you can see here that book is Labyrinth of Evil. So yeah, this obviously you can tell here from the cover, it's going to involve General Grievous and Anakin, and I believe this takes us through kind of some of the events. Obviously, this takes us up to the events of Revenge of the Sith, but I think this kind of explains a little bit more in detail the kidnapping of Chancellor Palpatine, that sets up obviously the start of episode 3. And there's also some stuff on Nemoidia. So, you know, obviously that is a reference that Obi-Wan kind of briefly makes to Anakin when they both end up back on Coruscant after rescuing the Chancellor. So I think this is kind of setting up some of that too. But yeah, this is going to be great. I think I'm going to try to plan this out where I want to read this as I'm kind of reading some of my Rise of the Sith and Menace Revealed epic collections for my comic read-through. I kind of want to read around that same era because right now I'm reading the 1970s Star Wars comics the original Marvel years comics that came out. So that's original trilogy stuff. I'm going to be jumping around a little bit, so I don't think there's really any right or wrong way to do it. But I think I'll wait to time that out and start this just so I can kind of have that synergy of reading and, you know, comics and this stuff during the same time. So, yeah, so there's that. Really excited to get this. And the price of this, honestly, you can't beat it. It was $2.50. So, yeah, you're not going to be able to get it much cheaper than that. So, really, really hyped to get this and a really great find. I did buy another actual real book at the store as well. This one my friend also talked me into just because of the premise of the book. And, you know, I wouldn't say I'm a big gamer. I'm more of a game enthusiast, I guess, in some ways. I have a couple games that I play religiously, but I do like the culture of gaming and just video games in general. So I picked up Ready Player One. So I got this book for about $7.50. So pretty good price for this. I went with the paperback just because like the hardcover was like an extra $6. I wasn't really looking to spend an extra $6 on a format. But yeah, this book, it's really cool. It has a lot of video game references. I don't know too much about it. It's like kind of like a dystopian world set in 2044. So obviously this was turned into a movie. So yeah, I really want to give this a read and maybe watch the movie after I read it. I think it's a pretty approachable book. Doesn't seem too long or anything like that. I don't know why I showed the pages. It's not like, you know, I guess you can see here some stuff there. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I like to sprinkle in some books. You know, I'm closing in on 62% of my comic collection read, so I feel pretty comfortable sprinkling in some books here and there that I have some interest in reading, just to kind of break up the monotony, if you will, of reading comics. Yeah, I think I'll eventually read that at some point too. You know, just need to break it down a little bit, maybe chapter by chapter, stuff like that, just so I'm not getting too overwhelmed. And it's funny, I did dust off my old Kindle that I bought years ago, and my friends were telling me about this app called Libby, that allows you to rent ebooks and put them on your Kindle. So I may use that too, just so I can, you know, get back into the hobby of reading without having to actually spend a lot of money on it. Obviously, libraries are a free resource, and definitely encourage anyone who's looking to get into reading, whether that's actual books or comics, graphic novels. Definitely check out your local library. I'm sure you can find a bunch of stuff there that you can rent for free. So reading is definitely, obviously, a big hobby of mine, and definitely I'm an advocate and ambassador for it, for sure. All right. So some other books I picked up here while I was at Second and Charles with my friend. I randomly realized that I didn't have Wonder Woman Rebirth Volume 6. I had Volumes 5 and 7. I don't know why I didn't have 6, but ended up going back, and that's the beauty of combing through some of those shelves at that store, is sometimes you'll find things or realize, hey, like, did I actually have all these? And yeah, I ended up picking this up. So this collects issues 31 through 37 of the Rebirth Wonder Woman run. So you can see here kind of some stuff going on there. So definitely have definitely stocking up for a nice read through of Wonder Woman at some point. But yeah, really excited to get this. I got this for $7.50, so basically like half off, more than half off, which is really good. So yeah, really cool to get this and to add that to that collection. Sticking with Wonder Woman, I actually did travel for work last week, so I drove up to the Erie, Pennsylvania area for work. There's a plant out there that I was supporting for my work. So on the way, I did stop, as I normally say. I do stop to have lunch, obviously, and to stretch my legs, walk around, get some stuff like groceries and things that I'm gonna need for the week. Um, so I did stop at my old stomping grounds at Penn State State College. So got to go through there. It was pretty cold when I was walking through there. It was like really cold, cloudy Monday morning. Not a lot of people around, obviously, because most of the kids are in school. But I stopped in at the Ollie's there. My friend who lives around the area, he told me that Ollie's wasn't that good, and that was kind of the case, except for this one book I found, which actually is a really nice edition that I'm looking forward to reading, and that is Wonder Woman Black and Gold. So this is continuing this line of anthology volumes that DC has been putting out. I think the first one that ever came out was like the Batman Black and White volumes, which I've read, maybe like 2 years ago at this point. I think I sat down and read those volumes. So this one, really nice to have this all collected in one nice thick hardcover here. Cover price on this was $40. I ended up getting it for $10, which is definitely a much better deal, obviously. I love that they chose gold because of the lasso that she has. So I'm really excited to read this. I don't think you really need too much background information on Wonder Woman to really read this, but this is one of the last books I'll probably read in my read through of Wonder Woman whenever I get to that. So you can see here what the back looks like. So yeah, really great find here. Been getting, whoops, almost dropped that. Getting pretty lucky here recently with Ollie's. I mean, I think the last haul I found some Batman like miniseries hardcovers for pretty good prices. So that's kind of how Ollie's is. I've been seeing people online posting that they've been finding omnibus at Ollie's. I wish that was the case for mine near me, but unfortunately it is not. So yeah, definitely encourage you to check that out. It's always a great resource. You never know what you're going to find at Ollie's, and usually it's always pretty cheap. So there's that. All right. Whoops. So that noise may have gave away what was going to be in the Lego haul, which will probably be, I think, will definitely be the shortest one I have ever made. All right, so let me actually do this one. Do these ones first, and then I'll do the one on the bottom last. So I made one purchase at Book Outlet 1 recently. And right now, I think at the time of this recording, they're still doing like their Black Friday sales. So if you're looking for something, you want to check that site and see if they have it for cheap, I would. Like I said before, it's really hit or miss. It's really hard to find everything you want. It's usually just whatever they get in and they push out. So, but nonetheless, I found some good finds that I wanted to add to my collection. First one here is a Moon Knight epic. This one is the Trial of Mark Spector. So this collects Mark Spector Moon Knight numbers 8 through 25 and material from Punisher Annual number 2. So I think this is now the second to newest in terms of like sequential order of epics that I have for Moon Knight. This is volume 5. So really excited to get this. You can see here the back. I don't know if the news is official, but I believe they did confirm that Moon Knight season 2 is not happening, which is really disappointing. My wife and I actually really liked the first season of Moon Knight, especially with Oscar Isaac, and it's just unfortunate. And it's crazy. whenever I think of Moon Knight, I think about the first time that I really sat down and did like a read through in anticipation of a series. Moon Knight was that first character that I picked back in like January of 22, before the movie came, or before the show came out in March of 22. So, yeah, definitely have some nostalgia with this character, but nonetheless, this looks like some great stuff. You can see here Spidey shows up at some point. So, yeah, I'm really excited to pick this up. I got this for, I think each of these I got for like maybe around $18 each, which, you know, for a cover price of $45, that's a pretty good deal. So really hyped to get this, and excited to add that to the collection there. Next one here I got, again, this was kind of capitalizing off of the hype I've been having recently with my Star Wars read-through. This was an epic I had on my wish list on other websites and other apps for so long. Never really pulled the trigger on it, and then found it on Book Outlet 1 for a cheap price and went ahead and bought it, and that is The Menace Revealed Volume 4. So, like I said, fingers crossed that Marvel will eventually reprint some of these volumes so I can collect the first 3 of this. But this one is actually a pretty good highlight in my opinion. This actually has the episode 2 adaptation. So you can obviously buy that book separately. It's like, I think it comes in like an oversized hardcover. I think that's usually kind of how they print those. But this one collects a bunch of other stuff. And again, the reason why I buy these epics versus reading them on Marvel Unlimited is A, I don't think all this stuff is collected on Marvel Unlimited yet. I might be wrong on that. And B, it's kind of hard to find out what stuff comes first and how it's all put in order. But this stuff has a bunch of things in it. This has Star Wars The Bounty Hunters, Aura Singh, Star Wars Starfighter, Crossbones, numbers 1 through 3, Free Comic Book Day Season 2, Star Wars Republic 46 through 48, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones 1 through 4, that's that adaptation. Star Wars Hasbro Toys R Us exclusive, numbers 1 through 4. I don't even know what the hell that is, but I guess we'll find out. And material from Dark Horse Extra, numbers 44 through 47. And Star Wars Tales, numbers 2, 7, 14, 18, 20, and 24. So, like I said, that's kind of why I like buying these, because it's just a bunch of stuff kind of collected in one. And I don't even think this thing has... Oh, yeah, it does. Yeah, it has a table of contents, which I guess this basically confirms to me that basically how they put it here is how it's shown in the book. So I guess I kind of rescind what I just said, but nonetheless, really cool to get this, and you can see here some stuff going on there. So a lot of good artists on these books. I don't know, this one kind of looks a little interesting, but yeah, we'll see how this goes. So, like I said, this will probably, I think this is going to fit between Rise of the Sith and the Empire, or yeah, because Rise of the Sith, I think, is around like episode 1, and this is more of like episode 2 era. So, yeah, we'll see how this goes. Like I said, fingers crossed that eventually Marvel will get around to reprinting some of these epics, because I have a bunch of gaps. I think my plan for that is to probably just skip those gaps. I don't think I'm going to try to hunt down the contents of those epics and read them. I don't know. I guess we'll see how fast I'm going through everything. If I'm going through these epics pretty fast, I think I may look up the contents for some of this stuff and see if I can read it on Marvel Unlimited and save some money and yet still complete that read-through. I'll have to look. So right now I'm just trying to focus on getting through the first omnibus of the Marvel years, which I'm reading completely online because I wasn't able to find that omnibus when it came out, and now it's going for a crazy amount of money online, so it's super out of print. I don't know if Marvel's ever going to reprint it. Knowing my luck, they probably will announce a reprint after I finished it, which will piss me off even more, but anyways. So the last book I read here, or not read, what I bought, was a recommendation from my friend when we went to Second and Charles, and that is Mirka Andolfo's Hot Paprika, which is actually, I think the series is called Sweet Paprika, but this is the Hot Paprika oversized hardcover. So yeah, my friend told me that this book's pretty raunchy. The premise is that basically a devil, Paprika, who falls in love with, I think that's her name, I don't know. She falls in love with an angel, and then obviously that's kind of the premise, is like, she's a devil and he's an angel, right? So this won the Harvey Award in 2022. It was nominated for an Eisner Award, so I definitely think it's going to be a great read. Nice thick hardcover here, really beautiful book here. So I'm really excited to give this a read and have this sprinkled in. Pun not intended, but I think this is only 12 issues. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's a pretty good book. So I'm really excited to read this, and I got this for $35. Cover price on this was, I think, $60, if I'm not mistaken. But so pretty good deal, and really excited to add this to the collection for Image. So yeah, and that is my comic haul. So let's go ahead and get into the Lego section, which will probably take less than a minute. So stay tuned. All right, guys, so thank you so much for watching that comic section. As I mentioned, my Lego haul pretty bare here, especially considering how much Lego I bought in the last haul. So usually around this time, we're kind of in a lull phase right now, especially with like Black Friday coming up, because there's not a lot of good sales right now. I'm trying not to get looped into them, obviously, because of the holiday, number one, but two, I know there's better deals coming up probably on Black Friday or around that week itself. So just waiting to see. I don't really have too much stuff like on my priority list to get still, like before it retires. Like those sets are pretty much my priority right now, is the sets that are retiring. Everything else is kind of being pushed to the very side, unless there's like some crazy deal that comes up that, basically it's like 40 or 50% off. But I don't anticipate anything crazy. I don't anticipate any crazy spending going on for Black Friday. Most of it's probably just going to be me buying gifts for other people. So that's my goal there. But anyways, the only Lego set that I picked up was this set, which is a poly bag, Mario Kart poly bag of Toad and as the pit crew. So I was going to buy two of these, but again, I don't see a reason to buy two of these, because usually when I buy two, I want to build one. Don't really see a need to build this. As I might have talked about on this channel, I sold back a lot of my like Mario sets as a lot to somebody. I made like $250 off of them. Yeah, I basically sold the whole lot to them. I've kept more of the bigger sets, like obviously the Piranha Plant, the NES, stuff like that. I would like to get like the Yoshi and Mario one, or like the Mario Kart one. They're pretty expensive, so but yeah, nonetheless, got this to add to my ever-growing polybag collection, so really excited to get that. And that is the only set that I picked up this time around. So yeah, that is my Lego haul. It was a little bit longer than a minute, so I apologize for that, but let's go ahead and get into the outro for this video. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, as always, consider liking, commenting, and subscribing for more of this content. If it's not already apparent, I have made many of these haul videos, so if you want to go back and check any of them out, you can click on the playlist on my channel, or obviously wait until the end of the video here and click the link there. But yeah, a lot of good stuff. Nothing too crazy here. I'm not trying to bury myself in books, but yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this haul, and until next time, I will see you on the flip side.